G'day peeps. I'm going to go over this little one today where I have a little bit of a rant about this property that I was working on, and it was getting sold to the government in Australia, which I hated. I'll go through over this, but this privatisation of land, the government cutting out private bidders, and of course they're using the public's money to push the public out of deals. Anyways, let's get into it. I'll explain more once we get into this video. But it's messed up. It's not okay.
Got a few hiccups today too, Mike.
There's the cows here, and
This is
this
the
stuff
property
is
that we're on.
cool. So he looks like a floating head, but he's on a quad. Got the truck over there, so I forgot what this stuff's called. I don't remember. But we've got about 100 cows in there. And if you can see right over on the edge, the trees up there.
So all the way at the back here, at the bottom of the mouse, you can see this is actually a tree line. So we had to walk them there. But this grass is probably, on me, it was about sort of my neck, pretty high, and you just can't really see over it, and everything disappears really quickly.
We've got to take them over those trees.
All that sort of muffled sound, that's the walkie-talkies we talk on, because there's no phone signal out here, so we're just using walkie-talkies.
And then we're almost there.
That was my get up. Yard.
Let's see if there's any chaos. Big bulls on the truck. Last one had a bit of chaos, but
These are like 8 miles. 700 would be a small one.
nice as that sunset. We started at 6:30 this morning. Breakfast was at 6, so we're up before 6. 6 o'clock we just finished. But I'm telling you, you get these magic sunsets and sunrises out here, like very, very surreal. Like you don't see these anywhere else that I've.
They really are quite beautiful, and I got a lot of problems with Australia as a country. But if you do ever get the chance to go there, or if you're there, one thing that you absolutely should do is go to desert areas. There's a lot of national parks out there, so I'd probably just go camping for like a week or something, and just observe the sunrises and sunsets. They are truly otherworldly. Like there is no equal. I've not seen equal in any of the countries. I've over 30 countries now. I have no idea how many cities. Sunrises, sunsets. I'm not necessarily saying they're the best, but they are a very, very incredible experience. So I really strongly recommend that. As a side note, let's keep going.
I've lived anyways. Taking Jack for a walk. Jack, hello.
Hello.
Hello. I take him for a walk because he's fired up all day. Needs a little bit of an outlet. A good day. Chasing cows, put them in yards, sort some more tomorrow, and probably catch a few more. They're selling this property to the national parks, which I think is a travesty.
This is in Australia, right? This property is like 380,000 acres. It's already been sold. They sold it to the national parks. I'll go through a little bit more.
There's some great land here, like really good production potential. Like you can.
It is insanely, like you're never going to build cities or towns or anything out there because there's not the sort of water to sustain human life, not in the way that we live now anyway. But the rainfall that does go and then the stuff that grows can be used for things like cattle, sheep, goats, farming, like really, really good. And humans are never going to use it.
They were running like 8,000 cows when they're sort of doing it properly.
Cows.
Not last few years. Since the drought, I think they've just got over. No, like this, which I get. Well, I don't understand to the extent that they've been through it because I haven't. But I can understand the sentiment. Yeah, to get this offer then of the government to buy your property for a price that it's definitely not worth, so that then they can then take it, but they do nothing with it.
So this is my problem, right? The government in Australia, so this was New South Wales in particular, they went around and they bought up all this farmland that was way out west where the population is like nothing. Like there is almost no people. You have to travel like 70 kilometers to your neighbor's house or 30 kilometers. Like everything's very spread out. But you've got this land that is prime for farming, agriculture, if you use it well, not crops. There's no water, but cattle, sheep, goats, whatever. All really works. Great for the families out there. A lot of businesses that will sort of work through that in the community, be it with the animals directly, whether it's, mustering. You got a lot of contractors that will go around and do that. Like for this job here, there was about 15, 20 of us doing that for about a week and a little bit. That's just a sort of once every now and then thing. If you've got someone out there manage it consistently, you probably have 2 people, maybe 3 people employed on that sort of property all the time if you're doing it well. Then you've got all these work like fences, kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of fencing. So there's a lot of money that can be made and generated through the fencing to shore up the property, shore up the boundaries, make sure the cattle are safe, protected. There's a lot of ways that money can sort of turn over. And then you look at the flow-on effect of the cows, the sheep. So the cows grown on the land that humans are never going to use otherwise, right? They're not going to use it. By putting cows on there, it's actually being productive. Otherwise, it's just sitting there doing nothing. So put the cows on there, build up their numbers. That's good for the family. The family then makes money off land that otherwise would make zero, right? No production, no services or products provided to the community, right? Which that's a negative for the economy. That's a negative for the country. If you're actually using it and making it productive, then it's a positive for the country. Economy goes up because family does well. Cows breed, they do really well. They've probably got to get a loan to pay for the property, so the banks are improving. Jobs, interest payments on the loan, all that are going through paying people who are working in the banks, right? You got benefits there. Then you've got benefits for the people directly in the farm. You got benefits for people that they can hire, come in, do the mustering, do the fences, do all these things, all the things that they then need to buy. They need to buy fuel, they need to buy food, they need to pay for electricity, they need to, all these things. And then you've got all that money that then goes out from those things, just from this land being productive, how that flows through into the economy, different people's lives, the community, like, they go to the pubs there, they have events, they have all those sorts of things that happen in the community. Because this is a productive farm, those things all benefit. When you destroy that farm and you take something that should be a very high level, multi-million-dollar enterprise if it's run well, something can run 7,000 cows, but that's millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars. If you just remove that, which the government has done, they bought it, overpriced, removed it. By buying it overpriced, you take out the local buyers who would go in and actually make it productive. So the government's come in, they offered a way inflated price, takes it away from production, and they turn it into national parks, protected areas for all the fucking kangaroos. Absolutely absurd. Oh, there was some wild brumbies on here. First time I've ever seen wild brumbies. Oh, absolutely incredible. You see them running across the fields. It was like, amazing. Anyway, so all these cows, because they sold the land, we were doing the muster because if they weren't sold, the national parks, this is what they would do. The people who they would hire, they'd hire 2 people to run the property. They would come in and shoot them. Dead, boom, no more cows. If they didn't get rid of them. And I just thought, huh? What? There's a lot of fucking cows here. Why are you just killing them? Like, what are you doing? That's their approach. Because the government does not give a shit about production. It does not give a shit about costs or balances or profits because they don't have to adhere to any of it. And this is a really big problem with Australia when you've got a government going outbidding private buyers, turning private land into government land, and then, worse than that, destroying the productivity of the land, which actually makes everyone worse off. Ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. I hate governments. Particularly hate the Australian government. But the people vote for it, so they're going to get what they deserve.
They do nothing. All this land that you can grow 7,000 cows a year, and then they breed. So let's say you're able to slaughter or send off 4,000. It's like all this, the amount of jobs that come from that. You got people like working on farms doing mustering, fuel that comes from that, people buying fuel to go in. You got fuel, and then you've got like the food that's got to be purchased for this week. Then you've got like all the equipment, the motorbikes, the cars, all that. These are all things that are purchased for an enterprise like this. And the government's like, oh yeah, we're really good. We're going to come in and buy this land and make it great for tourists. And we're going to liven up the economy. What they're doing is they look at this and they'd say, oh, it's a family run property. There's like 2 people employed. Sweet. What they're going to do is buy the property, employ 2 people, with taxpayer money, not because there's anything being produced or added to the economy. And then a few tourists are going to come in and buy a couple of things. Cool. Certainly not a level where you've got 3,500 cows worth being sold for meat, and then the process that goes through, the employment that comes from that, from abattoirs or just working around this farm or whatever. So the production is actually going down, which is, the government shouldn't be allowed to do that. They don't understand it, which is why they get away with it. And people don't understand it, which is why it's allowed to happen. But it's so wrong. I like that I get to work in this and get a better understanding of that, but it's super wrong.
Governments there. So if you agree with me, drop a comment. If you don't agree with me, tell me why. If you work for the government, politely go and fuck yourself, because you're a sellout. You just are. You're not improving people's lives. If you're particularly Australian, I'm going to talk about Australia particularly because that's what I understand most about. I'm just happy I'm not in that country anymore. It's a really big hang up for me when I saw this shit happening, and I read the book Atlas Shrugged, which again, if you're watching this channel, read that book because it will. You'll agree with it, you'll understand it. If you like this channel, you get a lot of value from it. Changed my life, and it made me decide I didn't want to contribute to Australia as a country anymore in any way, shape, or form, and I don't, because they're not. The country isn't set up for people who are productive. It punishes people who are productive, people who are benefiting other people's lives through their business, through their enterprise, through their hard work, through their intellect, through their creativity. It punishes those people. It rewards the leeches. It rewards the moochers. It pays people to not do anything, and it pays them well. It's absurd. So I'm in Colombia now, and the minimum wage for people here is about $300 US, $250, $300 US a month. And I like that. A lot of people here don't understand why, but I think it's good because it forces people to go out and do shit. Now, there's trade-offs to that, and Colombia is obviously a massive exporter of cocaine, and cocaine funds the vast majority of enterprise in this country. Most of the money comes from that. Literally, it's more than 50% of the exports from this country. It's pretty crazy. But that provides jobs for a lot of people, provides incomes for a lot of family, provides food. It allows other businesses to flourish. And I'm not supporting the Pablo Escobar sort of approach, but I see it as a business. There's a demand, there's a supply. I don't really have any problems with the actual business model. The ethics in killing people around it, I don't agree with, obviously. But how it sort of works in this country, it'll seem odd from someone who hasn't visited it and lived in it. When you actually come and look at it and see how it's working, it works. And people are forced to work because the government doesn't give them handouts all the time. Part of the reason is that the government can't. It's also as a result of the government not being able to do that. You've got this control from the drug people, and they control like half the country. The government controls the other half. It's a really interesting dynamic, but I prefer this because if you want to go out and produce something and make something, you can. If you want to go and do that in Australia, you can still do it for sure. Much more difficult, in my opinion. And from a person to person basis, and you just see if someone's got an idea here and they've got a bit of go about them and they want to do stuff, they'll go and wash windshields. And most of those people who literally just wash windshields at a good stop, they found where their market is. They know they've got a rough idea of the success rate. They probably don't go through and do their numbers specifically, but they actually earn quite decent money, and they can go and then use that probably to fund their drug addiction because a lot of them are homeless. But that's a different issue. The issue I'm purely talking about is the opportunity to go out, work, be creative, use your enterprise, use your intellect, use your mind, provide a service or product that is beneficial to other people at a very, very competitive price. And everyone's quality of life improves because of that. The Australian economy is very, very lucky that it has an enormous resource sector and a relatively small population in relation to how much it produces, but that can only last so long. There is no free lunch. Things have to be produced, and when you're killing your producers, making it so difficult, country's gone. It will die eventually. Might drag on for much longer time. A lot of bubbles do, but there will be a point where shit hits the fan and it goes very, very bad. And I look forward to that. In all honesty, I want to see Australia burn. I want to see that country go through enormous amounts of pain and suffering because I think it deserves it. I also think it needs it. The people there are so bloody weak. They're so feeble. And going through those lockdowns and seeing that basically all the men have lost their balls. There's a couple there that are decently strong. But it is pretty sad, to be honest. And it's nice to travel to other countries where that's not a thing. Guys are strong. Men are men. Women are women. They understand that there's two genders. You know, bit of basic shit like that. It's good to see. Anyways, I went a little bit off track, but fuck Australia, fuck governments, and farming production services are really, really beneficial to society. And yeah, it's just really sad what's happening in Australia and that's actually allowed to happen. It's very unfortunate. Comment. Let me know what you're thinking.